Hello, this is Janet Gallen inviting you to another episode of Love Letters Live. And my guest today is someone I think you all know, and also he has been a guest before. I want to introduce Reverend Dr. Steve Pieters. And let me just give it to you to say hello first.
Hi, how are you, Janet?
I'm
How
good.
is every good?
Thank God is all you can say. And right? Thank God.
Yeah,
Everything's
right,
good. Yes.
right.
So
Everything's good.
I know that your title is Reverend Dr. Steve Pieters. What do your congregants call you?
Oh, either Reverend Steve or just Steve.
Yes. And I mean, that makes sense. You were so accessible. I
Yeah.
remember thinking after we first met that if I were in the market for a spiritual leader, I mean, I happen to have one, but it would be you. You're
Uh-huh.
so accessible that it's not surprising that they call you Reverend Steve or Steve. That didn't used to be the case historically, did it?
No, it's true. I mean, people used to go by the very formal titles,
Yes.
but I like to be accessible. I think
Well, the
you know,
formal title creates a distance, right?
right, it does, and I'd rather be familiar.
Yeah, and you kind of have to be the way you work and how you are with people.
Yeah, exactly.
What
I
is
mean,
your
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, in your work with your congregants, what is your main goal? What I never asked you that. Like, what is it you want to accomplish first off? And besides what I'm guessing would be kind of a conduit between you and
My main goal is to make everybody I talk to feel loved, give them the experience of feeling loved, and that to me is what God gives me and God gives everybody when we're open to it, and so we are the conduits for God's love.
that's what
So I
I
talk
oh so
to
oh, for God's okay. I knew
yeah.
you were a conduit, but also, you do have a way of making people feel loved and very important. I mean, you make me feel that way. We don't know each other well. I'm not part of your church. And yet when I see you, I feel just great.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
I
Mission
bet.
accomplished.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, the reason
Right.
I wanted you to come back right now is beside the fact that I wish you lived next door and I could see you often. But I heard that you were working on a book.
I am.
And
I have signed a deal with Roman and Littlefield Publishers, and they are planning to bring out my book in the spring of 2024. And
well,
I'm working on the getting the manuscript together as the final version that will go to the printer.
my
Uh,
question is, what is this book focusing on? I mean, there's so many aspects of your life that I know about that mark your life as really singular and
yeah.
successful in what you do. I mean, your own living with well, you talk about what will your book cover? Will it be largely Tammy Faye? Will it be your own medical journey? All of which maybe
Well,
you
it's
kind of
it's
repeat for us.
it's all mixed together. I mean, I start off the book with a kind of annotated version of the Tammy Bakker interview, where I quote the interview and then talk about what I was thinking and what I was feeling
Well,
when she.
for those people who may not have seen your last Love Letters Live or may not know about your relationship with Tammy Faye Bakker, would you tell us about it?
Well, sure. I am that gay pastor with AIDS that Tammy Faye Bakker interviewed back in 1985 about being a gay man with AIDS.
Okay, no,
And
so what was that like? I mean, you, Christian religious people, I shouldn't assume anything and I should probably tape my mouth shut, but you don't picture that as being somehow open and welcoming to gay men who have AIDS.
oh, absolutely, they weren't. I mean, the right wing evangelical wing of the church, televangelists certainly were very condemning of gay men and gay men with AIDS, particularly. And AIDS was seen as God's punishment
I remember that. I remember that.
against gay men. And so when Tammy Faye Bakker had me on and gave me such a positive, supportive.
What made her go for you? What made her ask in the first place? Do you know?
she wanted to be the first televangelist to interview a person with AIDS, a
Hmm.
gay man with AIDS, and so they looked all through the East and South and couldn't find anybody willing to go on the show. And
Oh, really?
they found somebody who suggested me, and out in LA, and they called me up, and after a few negotiating points, I said sure.
Now,
Uh,
why do you think others said no? You would think that that would be a real opportunity to express something,
well,
to teach something.
yeah, but Tammy Faye Bakker had a reputation for being a little eccentric and weird, with her all of her makeup and her wigs and all of that, and her singing and everything. And
My mother loved
I
her.
mean, I think a lot of gay men with AIDS that they probably contacted felt like, I don't want to try to argue how to be a.
Say, I wondered if that was this. So they there was a legitimate fear they felt of being trapped into something that.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And I checked that out carefully before I agreed to do it. I insisted that it go out live, for one thing, so they couldn't cut it to
Oh, good. Yes, of course. I remember that now.
nefarious purpose. And I told them, look, I'm not going to take any guff about being a gay man or having AIDS. And the producer I talked to said, oh, absolutely. She wants this to be a very affirming, supportive interview.
So good for
So
her.
she,
I mean, how did she come to that
yeah.
in life? I wonder.
Well, I think she came to that in life because she was considered to be an outcast as a child. Her mother, she came from a family of fundamentalist Christians,
Hmm.
and her mother divorced her father because he was abusive, and moved on, went and got married again. And so Tammy was actually considered to be a bastard, because her mother was not married to her father, even though they were divorced.
Right.
Um,
I mean,
and
right. I don't.
so Tammy knew what it was like to feel outcast.
Okay, that's what I was. Yes, I can see where that is. Okay. So she was able to identify with that aspect of gay and AIDS.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you
And
developed a really nice relationship with her, didn't you?
yeah, well, I never actually saw her in person. I never met her in person, but we exchanged greetings occasionally through mutual friends, and
Well, how did she do the interview then?
oh, she did the interview via satellite. She was
Ah,
going to have me come to Heritage Village in North Carolina, South Carolina,
mhm.
and do the interview live with her in the studio. But she canceled at the last minute,
Why
and
was
then
that?
she canceled because her producer called me and said Tammy's sick, so we're
Oh,
canceling the interview. And then she called back the next day and said, well, Tammy is feeling better and wants to do the interview after all, so we're going to do it via satellite.
okay.
It would be the first ever satellite interview on PTL. It was still a new technology at the time.
You've got a lot of firsts here in your life. Another one.
Yeah, I know. Yes. So it was quite an experience. I didn't have a monitor, so I couldn't see her, but I could hear her in my earpiece that kept
Mhm,
falling off. But
mhm.
she helped me with that, and it all went very well. It was about a 24-minute interview, and the first half she spent asking me how I knew I had to be gay. And I mean, didn't I ever have sex with a woman, or didn't I give women a fair try?
Now, are
And
those fair questions for somebody who's totally unfamiliar with any part of any gay world?
no, I think they were the right questions for her audience. Um,
Uh,
and and I think that I mean, I'd been asked similar kinds of questions in my many interviews before that about being a gay man. Uh,
mhm.
I'd been accustomed to being in front of the camera for quite a few years at that point.
So that
And
really did give you a good opportunity to teach something, those questions, didn't they?
exactly. And so it was an opportunity to reach an audience I never thought I'd reach. And
Right.
then she got, the last half of the interview was about having AIDS and my fear of death or not, and all of that, and that's when she got very emotional and started talking about how, we've got to love people with AIDS and embrace them,
Could you talk about your own experience with AIDS, because you were one of the first to
yes, I was one
feel
of the
like
first.
doing that? I mean, this is something.
I got sick with what we now know as full-blown AIDS or advanced HIV infection back in 1982, when it was not even a year old since the first reports, and I was diagnosed then with what was then called GRID,
Oh, I
gay-related
remember that.
immunodeficiency. It's before they named it AIDS. And over the next 4 or 5 years, I was very, very sick with everything. I had stage 4 lymphoma and Kaposi sarcoma and hepatitis, CMV, pneumonia, mononucleosis. I just caught everything.
Hmm.
Really bad skin infections. The
I mean,
skin is
you must have been so weakened and just tiptoed past death again and again.
Oh yeah, I was very close to death a number of times, and I was fortunate to be patient number one on the very first antiviral they tried against AIDS, a drug called Suramin.
Hmm.
And within 6 weeks, my lymphoma, stage 4 lymphoma, had gone into complete remission. And
Now that was you were unusual in this because people were dying of this,
correct.
right?
Everybody was dying, and it was thought that everybody would die, and from this. And I went into complete remission. My KS lesions disappeared, and the
What do
serum.
you attribute that to anything in particular?
Well, I think I got very lucky, and bottom line, I don't really know, Janet, why I got well. I think that as a man of faith, I certainly like to think God had something to do with it. But on the other hand,
Can't
why
help
did
having that come
God
into the picture, that
deal?
there were better plans for me than dying.
Yeah, but then why didn't God have mercy on so many others who didn't make it, who
Exactly.
had more to live offer than I did? And
Uh,
so I don't know, I don't think that's the whole. I worked very hard at getting well, at staying well, at
oh,
creating the
can you
conditions for
talk about
medicine.
what you did
Sure. Well, for one thing, I did meditation and visualization every single day, 2 and 3 times a day.
by
Did
yourself or with guidance?
guidance, guided meditation tape. I used Dr. Emmett Miller's Healing Journey and Louise Hay's AIDS meditation visualization, and listen to them every single day, 2 or 3 times a day. I
Mhm.
did laughter therapy, where I made a point of laughing every single day, at least twice a day.
Okay, now
Watch
so
I
did,
Love Lucy, or
I want to ask about that laughing,
yeah.
because laughing to be effective has to be a real laugh, doesn't it? I mean, it
Oh
can't be.
yeah,
So what would you do to evoke laughter?
I would watch I Love Lucy or Cheers
Okay.
or you know any of my favorite sitcoms. Uh,
Okay. So in other
yeah,
words, it's out there if you know where to be. I love Lucy.
yeah,
Okay, yes.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the Lucy Show and Here's
Uh-huh.
Lucy, and I mean I could laugh at Lucy anytime.
Well, sure. I just
And
didn't think of going to the television as a curative.
well,
Uh,
I got that idea from Norman Cousins, and
uh-huh.
who had recovered from a life-threatening illness using Marx Brothers movies. Uh,
Oh,
watch
yes.
Marx Brothers and Three Stooges and things like
You know,
that.
I have a friend named Alan Klein. You should meet each other.
Oh,
And
I know Alan. I know an Alan Klein.
in San Francisco?
No, no.
Oh, well, there are probably a lot of Alan Kleins. This one's
They're
in San
probably
Francisco. And he's done a variety of things in the entertainment world. And he became what he calls a jollytologist.
ah,
His profession is teaching people how to laugh during
ah.
crisis.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Crisis, physical crisis. He has people who are very, very sick, people who have lost all their money, people who have, it doesn't matter the crisis.
Uh-huh.
He teaches people how to laugh despite
Oh,
the,
what a gift that is to people. I
apparently so, yes.
laughter is the best medicine, as they
That's
say.
what they say.
Yeah, yeah. So
Like,
and when
uh-huh.
you're laughing, you're releasing endorphins, and you
I was
feel
going to say there's got to be, yes, yes.
and there's a physical benefit to it, but psychologically, when you're laughing out loud, you can't be depressed. It
Uh-huh.
just doesn't work.
And depression has a bad effect on your physical,
Yeah, absolutely.
yes,
Particularly your immune system, I think.
I'm sure. So
Yeah,
also when you're laughing, your oxygen, I mean, things change. Yes. I have a question about your book. Can't wait to see
sure.
it. You've been in the public a lot, and I know bits and pieces, and this one. So your book will kind of be a summation of
Yeah.
so much of your life, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's called I keep on dancing: My Journey Through AIDS, and it's not a full-on autobiography where I talk about everything from birth to death, and or well, not yet, but
Right.
from birth to my
That
current
wouldn't be
life.
the autobiography part. Yeah.
Right, and the I talk about briefly my where I grew up and how I grew up, but I quickly get into my ministry and how that prepared me for when I was
How did you
diagnosed.
get drawn into a ministry?
Oh, good question. I had been involved in a recovery program when I was 23
For.
for alcoholism,
Mhm.
and I realized that in order to stay sober, I was going to have to get honest about being gay because I was very closeted. I was very
Oh, did
ashamed.
that have to do with your drinking then?
Oh, absolutely,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't realize.
But
Yes.
oh, it was very much connected, and I go into that somewhat in the book. But I when I started going to MCC, the Metropolitan Community Church, which is a denomination of churches that are gay and lesbian friendly and trans friendly,
Mhm.
and LGBTQ friendly, as we kind of say nowadays. So I started going to this MCC in Chicago, where I lived at the time, and about a year after I started going there, I felt the call to the ministry. I was going to be a musical theater actor.
Oh, I was
Uh,
wondering about, okay, because
yeah,
I wondered what your goal was before that.
yeah. Oh, I had every intention of becoming famous as a musical theater star.
Well, there is certainly, from what I can see, for successful people in ministry, and education, there's so much theater in it. They say what
Absolutely.
education is 90% entertainment,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. So definitely, I mean, some people consider preaching to be a performance art.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
And I certainly, I can definitely see how my theater training benefited me
At
in
its best, it
becoming a
should
good
be.
preacher.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So,
You say,
um, go ahead.
oh,
Yeah.
I say you sing. Do you sing? You say you want
Oh
you.
yeah. Oh, I sing. Absolutely. I love to sing and always have. And I had a great voice when I was young, and I did a lot of big bass baritone roles.
Oh,
And
now that you're saying it, I can see your speaking voice is exactly that beautiful bass baritone. Hmm.
yeah, and I joined the chorus, the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles,
Ah,
in 1994, and sang with them for many, 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 many years until the pandemic.
sure.
And then since then, I have not gone back yet, but I'm still a member. So
Nice.
yeah.
So the book is in final transcript.
It is. It's not quite in the final shape. I'm still working on getting it, formatted correctly and making sure all the grammar's right and the
Sure.
spelling's right and all of that.
Now, what is it you want from this book? What do you want the public to get?
Oh, I want to get that. I want the public to get that miracles are possible.
Oh,
and that
yes.
healing is possible, and even against the odds.
Mhm.
And I want people to learn a lot about the affirmation of being gay. I want people to realize that being gay and Christian is a possibility, and
More than a possibility.
gay and Jewish, or gay and Muslim, or whatever. That gay is not incompatible with religion or spirituality.
Good. I mean, that seems so obvious, but good for you that you're saying it. So, one of the things that I'm hearing, and I have another friend who actually did something in this, that what seems like a death sentence, assume nothing.
Right. Exactly.
And there was a time, maybe even when you first got AIDS, that it was seen as a death sentence.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
people
I
lived
mean,
recklessly, sexually, and financially, and yes.
I was told I wouldn't live to see 1985, that it was impossible for me to survive
Tell you such a thing. Who
to
told you that?
one of the nurses on the county LA County Hospital ward
What did you think of that?
chart. Well, it scared me, but I thought no. I just kind of said no to it.
But
And
did it occur to you that a medical professional does not have the right to tell you how long you would live?
oh, absolutely. My doctor
Uh-huh.
used to tell me how long I had to live
Oh, no, no,
because
no.
she didn't know. Because she knew that if you tell somebody you have 3 months left, then many people will go, oh, okay, and three
And just
months
lay
later
down
they
and give
die.
up.
Yeah, exactly. But if you just leave it open ended and say we don't know,
But your doctor
you
did say that.
oh yeah, oh
Oh,
yeah.
good.
So I had the possibility of healing presented to me right from the start, even though it looked like everybody died from AIDS back then.
Right.
Yeah. And so today I am struggling again with health issues. I was diagnosed in September with a stage 4 cancer of the stomach that
Mm.
is extended into my esophagus and metastasized to my liver and lymph glands. And so I'm actively doing chemotherapy and radiation treatments, and once
So
again,
I'm gonna
I'm
say
in
something. I'm
not
gonna
hope.
say something really ignorant. Is you look so robust and wonderful, even with what you're going through.
Well, thank you. I feel robust and
You don't look
wonderful.
weakened by the
So,
treatment or the therapy or what
well,
about that?
they have their effect on me, and there are days when I don't feel very good,
Okay, that's
but
too.
mostly I feel great, and I try to keep moving. I try to walk every day and get out in the sunshine, and that sort of thing, and stay in service. I think that it really pays to be of service to other people as a way of getting outside of myself and not
Right,
worrying.
that others need you,
Yeah, exactly.
kind of.
And I've done all I can to create the conditions for healing.
Mhm.
And I have every reason to believe that I'm gonna survive this one too.
Good.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
glad. I bet you do. Yes. Oh,
My friend Allison Arngrim kids me about,
oh
do
yes.
you know
I
Allison?
well, she was actually a guest, and I'm still getting comments on her. People, she is adorable.
Oh, she is wonderful. The
Really.
nasty Millie Olsen in
Oh,
her childhood, but
everybody's favorite brat. Yes.
everybody's favorite brat. But
What
anyway,
does
she's a
she
great
think?
friend, has
Oh,
been
I'm
for many
glad.
years. And she has, she visits me from time to time now, and she said, "I'm sorry, I just don't believe you're doing chemotherapy. I don't believe you have cancer. You look too good. You don't
Well,
look like
you know,
somebody who's chemotherapy."
I'm
We
saying the
laugh
same
about
thing, and I know that it sounds kind of doltish for me to say such a thing, but
it.
why not?
Oh, why not? I mean, I'd rather defy the odds and
Right,
look good in spite of dot dot dot.
right, right. Well, I want to thank you for doing this with me. I'm happy to be catching up with you, and sad to know that you're going through anything difficult again.
Yeah, well, none of us have any guarantees about being here tomorrow.
That's the
but
truth.
all any of us have is right here and right now, and right here and right
Something had happened
now,
to
I
me, and I
feel
forget what
damn good.
well, I was worried about something, and a friend of mine said, a very religious woman actually, and she said to me, "Well, why are you worried about that? I mean, an airplane could fall on your head tomorrow." And I
Yeah.
said, "You think I have to be reminded of that?" I look up when I'm right.
Uh-huh.
We don't know what's coming, and so today is the time to do our best, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's today is the moment.
So,
Now
in
is
terms of love letters, it
yeah.
would be easy to think, I'm so about the power of letters. I can see in your life that you have a list of people who could be getting a gratitude letter from you,
Oh, I do indeed.
doctors, and just, did you ever or do you ever write letters?
Oh, of course I do. Yes, 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 definitely. I love to correspond with people and friends and family
I'm
and
not
I
surprised.
on special days like birthdays and anniversaries, I like to write a note saying how much the person means to me. And I mean,
And they don't throw those away.
no, I'm
I
sure they
want to say
don't.
something about a book because I
Mhm.
am
Mhm.
obsessed with paper and any
Yeah,
form of that flyleaf in a book
yes.
is the most perfect piece of stationery
Ah,
for a love note.
yes, it's true.
So do you think when that book comes out, if you give copies to friends, special friends, you would
Oh,
write a note to them or a letter to them on that
oh,
blank page?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing that I'm curious about is when I write a love note to somebody
Mm-hmm.
on the fly piece, do I write dear so and so, I love you so much and I'm so grateful for all your help and
Sounds good to
love
me.
Steve or love Steve Peters? I mean, or do I write love Steve and then
Oh, doesn't that
Steve
depend on your
Peters?
relationship? I mean, if you are their spiritual leader and you have a friendship, it could be, love Reverend Steve,
Reverend Steve, yeah, sure.
or
But
always
I'm aware that sometimes books are valued by having the actual autograph of the author.
right.
And so if I want the book to be valued, do I have to add my own autograph at the back,
Yes,
at the
and with
bottom?
and in your handwriting, of course,
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
stick a book on a typewriter, right? And
right.
and I think if you were to write Reverend Steve, and clearly the book is by you,
Yeah.
any historian in the future will know that that's what it is. But it's a good question.
Oh, okay.
I,
Thanks.
I once I once heard that a book is more valuable if my parents had a lot of books autographed by the authors, and it
Oh,
turned out, and I don't know if this is still true, or that a book that just has the name of the author is more valuable than one with a whole note.
oh, really?
But I say never mind on that. A whole note is the beautiful thing that you want to give people.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe you want to put on the bottom, parenthesis, Reverend Dr. Steve Peters. Maybe you do that,
Right.
even though
Okay.
yeah.
I will certainly consider doing that.
Oh, I
Yes,
hope you do lots of
when
them.
it comes time.
Yes.
When it comes
Okay,
time,
dear. Oh, my love to you. And
I
just
love you.
thank you for all you do in the world. And I know this isn't about me and selfish little me, but for how you make me feel.
Oh, well, thank you. You're very
Thank
kind.
you. Well, we'll be in touch.
All right, great. Thanks, Jan.
And yes, just I wish you well. And yes, let's just be in touch.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. It's a deal.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna just okay, now I can see you to say goodbye. Okay.